Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. It's been an interesting day, especially for self reflection. Now, for those of you that have been listening long enough, you know that Silverlight likes to spend his spare time researching the odd and unusual stuff. This does put me into the paranormal territory, which I do intend to return to. But at the present time, I'm just reading up on really strange stuff. I spent last night with one of those guides to body language, and it was really illuminating for me. Silverlight was involved with military systems from a very young age. I started off as a cadet. Yes, Silverlight was once a kid idiot. And after that, I joined the proper military. So a lot of my formative experience came with military drill and discipline. This has caused me to approach things in certain ways. I'm not as rigid as you might think. I'm actually quite flexible. But the way I present myself is not always appreciated. For one thing, Silverlight is known for having a loud voice. If you raise your voice, I will unconsciously raise mine to match yours, unless I'm really trying to supplicate you. For some reason, this rubs them the wrong way. It's always amused me. Why are you shouting at me? Well, you're shouting at me. No, I'm not. And it amuses me the volume that they have this conversation. But that wasn't the thing that really staggered me. Excuse me, little cough. I was reading this body language, and it said men tend to form up in an L because it's less confrontational, whereas women tend to be more face to face. This is news to me. I mean, through casual observation, I have noticed that men will slightly form that angle, but it's usually when they're sitting at a bar, for example, or even at a desk. But in other face to face interactions, they generally do face each other. That being said, given my background in the military, I've been approached a few times in life and been told that get aggressive vibes off me. And I'm like, first of all, I'm speaking in a calm, regular voice and taking my time to explain something to make sure they understand. That's the way I was taught. But no, these people, you seem very aggressive to me. And I thought it was my height. Silverlight is 6'3". So, yeah, I thought maybe my height is intimidating, and it is an intimidating factor, and I'm known to use it to my own advantage. After all, just standing up can sometimes make people think twice. And it's worth it to have that bit of intimidation on your side, but it's not something I habitually do. In an average conversation with you, for example, I would probably never stand up, even if we were in a dispute. It's me just trying to set the deck, and it's not me being aggressive at all. It's just think carefully where you're going from here. But it turns out, no, because I'm standing face to face with people, which is the way I was raised and taught to do things, when a sergeant calls you out, he expects you to go up to the front and look him face to face, shoulders squared, eyes center, and then they're going to go on and do whatever they had in their mind. Chew you out because your socks are the wrong color, whatever it is that they've got their knickers in a knot about that day. That's just the way that my life has been. To me, it's more efficient because I'm giving you my full attention. And also, any office that you've ever been in, how say you go to your boss's office. Usually they have their desk set up in some sort of manner with the chairs facing one another. So it's natural for me and most humans to assume that is the proper way to conduct yourself. But no, here I am finding half a century in. Apparently, I'm acting aggressive by showing respect the way I was taught to show respect. I do believe you should always be reviewing your behavior. And like I said, it's humbling for me to sit back and say, maybe I was the jerk all along. Hey, I'm a big man with big shoulders. I can take a little bit of criticism. Don't really have much of a chance to implement it at the present time, but I'll be mindful of it. Maybe give people that little bit. But my other problem is a lot of people like the fact I'm giving them such rapt attention, even when I'm not. That could be our little secret. I know how to stare a hole in your head and just make it look like I'm giving you my absolute attention, and meanwhile I'm fantasizing about unicorns and dragons and whatever else is on my mind at the time. But it makes you feel good. So here I am conflicted about things. Another thing, let's go back to yelling. Once again, thanks to the military, Silverlight has a voice that can nearly shatter glass. Now, I do not use this. Some people I tend to use it more because they're really not listening, or they're trying to talk over me or interrupting me when I'm trying to make a critical point. You can ask anybody. Around children, I don't use the voice. I have a much calmer voice, and around adults, I'd rather speak to you normally. Even now, I'm projecting my voice a little bit. It comes naturally. Had a little bit of a career in the stage and lighting, although I spent most of my time behind the scenes because it's more natural for me to be technical than it is for me to be a performer, although I can be a performer. And stage and lighting people are, if they can't project their voice, they're pretty much useless. In the military, you project your voice. It's taught to you. It's just the sound that you're making is coming more from your gut than from your lungs. There's a muscle called the diaphragm. And when you speak from the diaphragm, hang on a second, when you speak from the diaphragm, it sounds louder. And it actually carries more. And you can see it sounds more confident, and it sounds a little more aggressive. But I don't usually do that with regular people. I had a job once where I had to use it a majority of the time because we had large cranes running around. And yeah, they're loud, especially when they're picking up containers and dropping them. So unfortunately, if you use your regular voice, you're going to be hoarse in a day or so. And some people had complaints about that, and you know what? I really don't care because I'm never actually rude to these people. Like, okay, you're going to go to section 3 on the right. That means you see over there where that big rock has number 3 written on it. Go there, take your left-hand turn, and then pull over to the right-hand side, okay? Now, there's nothing rude about what I just said. But with a crane going by and with the reverse alarm, beep, 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 you legitimately have to raise your voice a little bit for the person to hear you. And that's just one example. I'm also a human being. I get sick, and sometimes my voice goes, but you can use diaphragm speaking to overcome that. But again, that makes some people think that you're being rude and shouting. Oh no, I promise I'm not shouting. But again, it gives me something to reflect on and improve. I'm in a state of constant improvement. I'll never reach perfection. Nobody is truly perfect. Although I'm trying very hard to make sure that next generation doesn't repeat my mistakes. But always working on yourself is important, just to be a human being like human beings are. We live in a modern world where some people are conflict adverse. And they admit, I don't like conflict. But they sense conflict where there is no conflict. And that is where they get into trouble. Well, trouble perhaps is the wrong word, but they feel taken aback where no offense is intended. It would be nicer if they just said, hey, I don't like, not even don't like, hey, I'm kind of feeling threatened here. Not even that's confrontational. It would be a good thing for them to say, I don't like conflict, so, can you please treat me a little calmer? None of this, you should respect your elders. No, you should never respect your elders. Elders are held to the same standard as everybody else. They have to earn that respect. You should respect your superior. Well, I will initially. But ultimately, if I'm challenging you on something, I have a good reason. And if you think I'm abrupt or abrasive, chances are I'm not the first person you're having this conversation with. And I can hear the people out there right now, oh, it's a bunch of snowflakes that you're catering to, and they should. No, 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 no. People do have the right to be treated a certain way. But if you don't tell me that you want to be treated a certain way, I can't possibly know that. And that's sadly the truth. We communicate with so many people without actually communicating with them. You do a transaction at the store. You buy whatever, a fishing rod. Guess where Silverlight was looking. You buy a fishing rod. You take it up to the clerk. The clerk, ding, 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 that costs $50. You hand them a $50 bill, because I want to make this transaction as simple as possible. They hand you the fishing rod. Now you just made communication with somebody. You've exchanged information, but it's on such a shallow level, like virtually nothing of importance was exchanged. Here's the price. Here's the money. Thanks. Bye. And for companies to be fawning over this and saying, oh, you need to engage the customer more and stuff like that. Not all customers want to be engaged. I am actually one of those customers. If I get to know somebody, like the night shift guy at the grocery store I used to go to, a couple of seconds of conversation is fantastic. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, did you see the new release of whatever? Yeah, that looks fantastic. Okay, cool, thanks, bye. That's exactly the level of conversation that I want. Because if I'm there, I'm tired, I'm busy, I have other things to do. Let me pick up my oranges and get the heck out of there. But expecting you to do that with every person, there's a lot of people with confrontation anxiety. So companies are pushing this agenda of quote friendly end quote service that not a lot of people want. Other people expect it. These entitled boobs are going around expecting you're going to bend your knee and prostrate yourself before them because they are the almighty customer. And customer is always right, even though they don't understand that expression. Whoever popularized that did a poor job. I know I've said this before, but I feel necessary to repeat this. The expression actually means the customer is right in their selections. If you have Coca-Cola and RC Cola, and more people buy RC Cola than Coca-Cola, don't stock Coca-Cola. Then your expenses will go down, your profits will go up. That's what the customer is always right means. It doesn't mean some moron, Nimrod jerk coming in and saying, I want 20% off because I'm the customer and the customer's always right. No. And those people are confrontational. You know what? They kind of ruin it for everybody else. Now, I'm willing to call stuff out. I'm not afraid. Last week, I had 2 things delivered, and both delivery vehicles, coincidentally, both of them had lights out. Now, that is a serious problem. And I called up and I complained, and I was sweeter than sugar on the phone. I said, okay, I understand, you don't have a centralized depot. I understand this, that. I know a lot about companies and transportation. But one light out, first of all, that's a fine right away. And secondly, we're like a half hour away from sunset. Either way, the police, well, you're probably going to avoid the police long enough, but it's something your driver needs to get replaced pretty quickly. Because believe me, it's no fun when the police pull you over and you have a light out. Because there's really not much you can do about it unless you're some sort of freak that carries spare lights. And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm not going to insult the people that carry spare lights because I kind of want to see how that goes down. Where a cop says your light is out, you pop out and say, "Hold on," and replace it. That was easier with older cars. I understand the newer cars; they make it a complicated process. I would love to see how that would go down. But again, that's confrontation. The police officer is telling you, hey, don't do this. And to have two of them in one day just coincidentally both have the same headlight out, that shows me that these people are not maintaining their vehicles. It's hard. I appreciate it to know everything about your vehicle. People don't do circle checks, delivery people, regular people, and it's something we all need to get in the habit of. But my complaint was very polite, very professional, and I didn't say, these drivers are idiots and they don't know what's going on with their vehicles and stuff like that. Hey, I don't know. Maybe his headlight did burn around the corner. I honestly don't know anything except what I saw. I reported it not to get the guys in trouble, and I even stated that. I don't want to get these guys in trouble. I just want them to fix the problem. Because if I don't report it, nobody else is going to, and the police are going to report it. Some people think I'm nitpicking, but honestly, think about it. How many times have you been driving around and you don't notice it until you get your oil change, and the mechanic says, oh, your front light is out? And these people are not delivering on their spare time to, you know, get in trouble and have to pay a ticket and possibly get points. I don't even know what's involved in all that. They're driving to make money, and it's better to spend a little money now than it is later. But like I said, with these complaints, don't be confrontational. Now, back to the beginning. We've talked a lot about conflict in this episode because I think it's valuable not only to evaluate ourselves, but evaluate our conflict styles. I'm normally an educated person, and I love a good debate. Not a Facebook debate. You're wrong, you're wrong. Well, I looked at your profile and it shows that you have a picture with a surfboard, and I don't like surfers. I'm making that up, but I'm sure it has happened. I've been through a few of those about different things, but I don't feel like revealing personal information. But it's also important to be mindful not only of our body language, but our internet language. And I've apologized a number of times, and it freaks people out. Like somebody comes across and, oh, you're wrong about this. My fault. Either I got it wrong, which is rare, or my fault. I didn't explain it. I worded it wrong. And telling people, yeah, you're right. You called me out on that, and you're right, de-escalates the situation. It's even better if you can slip in a joke and say, well, you're right, but this is Facebook, so I'm supposed to argue with you. See, right there, that makes the other person laugh. And you've de-escalated the conflict. But on Facebook, people don't want to de-escalate it. They want to make it worse. So my way of approaching it, most of the time, de-escalates it. There's a few people out there. There's one user in particular I'm thinking of. And we're not friends or anything, but they just love to cause conflict. And that de-escalation strategy of mine really works. They still come after me, but I take it as a mark of respect. I'd actually like to meet them one day and shake their hand, but I don't believe in meeting people online. It used to be far less dangerous back in the day. But in the present situation, I don't live in a violent area. I don't live in a bad area. But it's the first essential thing that you have to learn about conflict is the first way to de-escalate conflict. Don't be there when it starts. So me inviting somebody out for a coffee, a an alcoholic beverage or whatever might escalate into something not very nice. It might be like me where you're just there to get stuff off your chest. But we all know Reddit, X, formerly known as Twitter. All those things tend to attract conflict. And when are we going to abandon the formerly known as Twitter thing? This is just a pet peeve. This is kind of a mishmash of an episode. I'm enjoying. I started talking and it kept going. When are we going to abandon Twitter, formerly known as X, or X, formerly known as Twitter? And I mean, the domain name has to be sitting out there somewhere. So why not be able to use it and let people decide? Hear that, Elon Musk? I know you're listening. No, I know you're not. If you're listening to me, please drop me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you. Maybe even get you on as a guest. With all that said, this episode is long and meandering, and I hope you appreciate my stream of consciousness, because sometimes that's just the way I like to approach things. I think I had an extra cup of coffee this morning, and I can't shut my mouth. So, we wish to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Silverlight Show. Excuse me. We wish to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silverlight Show, because I want to make sure I thank everybody. My mother gets mad at me otherwise. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button, because I love seeing those likes. Everybody does. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Share, because sharing is caring. Click the bell icon at the bottom right, and that way you can be notified every time that we have a new episode. And we hope you have a fantastic day.